So this might be one of the dumbest builds that I've ever run on my Ohio, but we're trying an AA build, and we're gonna try and push in aggressively, even with carriers in the game. I want to see how well this will perform. And because we have an AA build, that also buffs our secondary, so we're kind of a dual threat AA secondary brawler build. We're really giving up a lot though when it comes to concealment, and we're even dropping things like AR, so stick around till the end and I'll show you what the build was, because this is going to be a really good game. I had to play a couple though to get this really good game, so don't think this is going to be the most consistent thing. I should also mention this is on Arms Race, so we are getting some extra buffs there, but I don't think it really would have impacted the game all that much. Overall, the buffs really seem to go relatively evenly between the enemy team and ourselves. Really what it comes down to is pushing and trying to use islands to limit who can shoot at us. Big surprise there. I say this every single brawling video. We have to use islands to our advantage. And on this map, it can be kind of tricky. Since a lot of these islands are pretty decent once you're at them, but getting in between some of these islands is very difficult. There's large, easy to use torp lanes, so the enemy has some good destroyers. It's really difficult to push in, especially your team is playing towards spawn or, well, they're flanking pretty hard right now, but you'll notice that there is an enemy Holland there in the middle of the map, which is potentially pretty scary. I should mention that secondaries seem to hit DDs more reliably now, so that's something that I found to be quite useful recently. Mostly been doing this in Airship Escort, of course, that mode that I wish would come back, but hey, it helps here too when we're getting into these closer range situations. We're actually going to do a lot of damage to DDs through these secondaries. Of course, we do want to sector our AA anytime we possibly can. And a lot of the plane kills that we're going to get this game, I believe, are from actual planes. I don't really count the fighters that CVs drop as actual plane kills since they don't have very much HP. They're not really impacting the game all that much, outside of a little bit of spotting. What really matters is taking down this Hakuryu's strike squad, so taking out enough torpedo bombers or dive bombers that he's effectively crippled into the late game. We do take a big hit here to start with, I ain't gonna not deny that, but what that did force that Hakuryu to do was fly his planes over our ship after that initial drop and into just the whole of our team. And he's gonna lose that squad very easily. We'll get some decent hits in here on the Druid. Really just trying to make it to this little checkpoint island. It applies a ton of pressure on the enemy team once we're here, assuming we can get here in good enough HP. And we're reasonably okay. I would say half health, not too bad here, especially with our team pushing down the 1, 2, 3 lines. This allows me to somewhat focus on the middle of the map, trying to prevent them from getting a bunch of cross shots, right? The enemy team, of course, if they have people positioned where the Stalingrad is, or even an island a little bit further off to the middle of the map, that can be very devastating if your team is pushing the 1, 2, 3 lines and they have a good presence in their spawn, which of course they do. Look at this, 10 plane kills, 11, 12. He gets a double sit into us with the dive bombers, which fair enough, we're stationary, right? Pretty easy target to hit, but we take out all of his planes. Of course, that does rely on some luck in the enemy carrier eating flak, but it's pretty good damage so far. Even now, we've already done almost 60,000 plane damage. Kind of surprised how well it worked in this game in particular. Perhaps it won't be so consistent as I move forward and try this some more, but it actually worked out reasonably well in this one. And again, we're just trying to use this island, limiting the number of people who can shoot at us. You notice the Bourgogne just does not have a shot. We'll reverse out here, be reasonably well angled to the Yamato, and we'll try and kill this Minotaur. We do get a Dev Strike, but you probably noticed that some of these salvos aren't the most accurate. And along with this build, we're taking the secondary and AA upgrade in slot 6, which means we're missing out on 11%. 11% dispersion on an American battleship, which feels pretty bad most of the time. But if we're able to get into secondary range, secondaries are going to do that much more damage. And in this case, we are actually getting use out of those extra AA buffs. Somebody mentioned as I was playing this game that it feels bad to invest so much in AA skills when you're not even guaranteed a CV on the enemy team in every game. And even if he is there, it's not even necessarily going to come after you all the time. And I think that is a very valid point. However, what I like about this is there's a CV game in the game. I'm prepared, I'm ready. And if there isn't, well, that just means it's a lot easier for me to push in and get into some of these really fun positions to make use of this secondary brawler build. Mainly focused on the secondaries, of course. Ohio is, of course, one of the best battleships in the entire game at tier 10, so I don't know if this is necessarily going to work as a German build, for example, if I tried this on my price end, but maybe I'll give it a go, see what I think of it. Ohio, wow, like, huge hit into the Druid there again with our main guns. So even without that extra accuracy, we are still getting some very good salvos this game. That Yamato Cheek isn't always the most reliable thing to hit either, so definitely some RNG on our side allowed us to make this one work. But 143k already feels pretty nice. Couple of kills, dev strikes. Very much an enjoyable match. Did not expect this to work out. I was kind of just giggling to myself putting this build together. I was like, wow, this is really dumb. I wonder if it'll work. This is what I'm going to be trying to do in some random battles to spice things up a little bit for myself. Really don't want to just play the same old sit and spawn, snipe away kind of thing like I've been prone to do in the past. It's very easy to do that in a battleship because you have so much range, and it's very easy to just sit there, not get shot at, take pot shots from 20 kilometers away. Whereas this can be a little harder to find these pushing opportunities. Fortunately, this Borgone is going to go down here, otherwise it could have been caught in a pretty bad crossfire, as we can see the Vermont actually pushing into the middle cap zone. And there's our AA expert. We've got it. Another 13 planes there. What are we going to be up to? Like 45 planes? Something ridiculous like that already? I'm just happy that this is doing a little bit of something. And you notice the secondary is actually just ripping this DD up. They're surprisingly useful. Whatever they did to change the aiming point versus destroyers specifically, it's not like they're more accurate or anything. They just changed where the aiming point, the lead point was of secondaries. Seems to hit them a little bit more reliably. Because before, they just always missed. Unless you were a DD that was charging straight towards the enemy battleship. Which, I mean, let's be honest, nobody really was. 176k though, feels pretty good. Top score. Nearly 3k base XP. Nearly 50 planes. And we did a decent amount of secondary damage there as well. Nearly 100k plane damage. So not too bad. That went surprisingly well. I'm not really sure if I recommend this build to anyone. But if you want to try it, give it a go. We are definitely investing in AA upgrades here, as you can see. I'm not really sure if this focus fire training is really worth it over Adrenaline Rush, but considering we're doing a decent job of priority sector, that does give us a further 25%. All these percentages just stack on one another. And while the AA is shooting, I don't know if you guys knew this, but this skill gives us 15% reload on our consumables, which is pretty nice when we already have a fast heal cooldown, getting to that a little bit sooner when we are the focus target of the carrier. Of course, carriers often do permanent damage, so I don't know how useful that necessarily is. Maybe it'd be a little better to not run this build, not push in as aggressively and become the #1 priority target of the carrier, and play a little safer. That might work a little bit better, I'll be honest with you. But this is the build that I was running in the game. Even taking a Auxiliary Armaments Mod 2 here. Not even taking the 11% dispersion, which is just a ridiculous thing to do. But it's all percentage based, right? I'm not sure if I'll continue this moving forward, but it worked in that one single game. I just had to share it with you guys because it was so much fun. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.